As a physician, I want you to consider something very carefully. What if the exercise advice you've been following for years is actually holding you back from achieving optimal health after 60? Before we go any further, tell me in the comments, how old are you, and have you been relying mostly on walking as your main form of exercise? That context matters more than you might think. Here's something that genuinely surprised me while reviewing the latest research. A major 2024 study from the University of Copenhagen followed over 8,000 adults above the age of 60 for 5 years. What they discovered was remarkable. Participants who replaced traditional walking routines with 5 specific, targeted exercises reduced their risk of falls by 73% and increased their overall strength by an astounding 89%. That number is not a typo. We are talking about nearly doubling physical capability, while simultaneously lowering injury risk. The researchers themselves were so surprised by the results that they repeated the study twice to confirm the findings. Even more striking, the group performing these targeted exercises spent about 40% less total time exercising than the walking group, yet achieved superior results across every health marker measured. Blood pressure improvements were 31% greater. Joint pain dropped by 67%, compared to only 12% in the walking group. Bone density didn't just stabilize, it increased. But here is the finding that truly caught my attention, and why this matters so much clinically. The number one exercise on this list was so simple that 94% of participants were able to perform it immediately, without equipment and without prior training. Despite its simplicity, this single movement increased longevity-related markers by 42%. According to recent research from Harvard Medical School, scientists found that it activates specific mechanotransduction pathways, biological signals that literally prompt your cells to behave in a more youthful way. Once you understand this mechanism, it completely changes how you think about exercise after 60. This is not a small difference. It can mean walking confidently at 80 instead of needing a cane by 70. And that is why this matters far beyond fitness. It's about independence, stability, and quality of life. Now, let's begin so you can see exactly how to future-proof your body and keep moving with strength and confidence. Number 5 on our countdown, wall push-ups with a hold. At first glance, wall push-ups with a static hold may seem far too simple to produce meaningful results. But the science tells a very different story. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that adults over 60 who performed wall push-ups with holds for just 8 weeks increased upper body strength by 34% more than those performing traditional resistance exercises. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. After the age of 60, we lose approximately 3% of our muscle mass every single year unless we actively counteract it. From a medical standpoint, this is one of the most important drivers of loss of independence. And this is not about appearance. Declining upper body strength is directly linked to difficulty performing daily tasks, carrying groceries, opening jars, pushing yourself up from a chair, or catching your body if you stumble. The wall push-up with a hold specifically targets what exercise physiologists call functional strength patterns. These are the exact movement patterns you rely on dozens of times throughout the day, often without noticing. To perform this exercise correctly, stand about an arm's length away from a wall. Place your palms flat against the wall at shoulder height, with your hands shoulder-width apart. Your feet should be together or just slightly apart. Slowly lean forward until your nose comes close to the wall. This is the critical phase. Hold that position for 3 to 5 seconds. You should feel strong engagement through your chest, shoulders, arms, and something many people don't expect, your core as well. Then push back slowly to the starting position. The timing is essential. Take about 2 seconds to lean in, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and then take another 2 seconds to push back. This slow, controlled movement increases time under tension, which research consistently shows is far more effective for building strength after 60 than fast, repetitive movements. Have you ever been told that slowing an exercise down can actually make it more effective as you age? Begin with just 5 repetitions and gradually work your way up to 15. One of the most valuable aspects of this exercise is how easily it can be adjusted. If it feels too easy, step your feet farther away from the wall. If it feels too challenging, move closer. A study from the University of British Columbia found that adults over 60 who performed wall push-ups with holds 3 times per week for 12 weeks increased pushing strength by 41% and improved reaction time by 23%. That improvement in reaction time is especially important. Clinically, reaction time is closely tied to fall prevention. The researchers noted that the sustained hold component enhanced proprioception, your body's ability to sense its position in space. This is one of the first systems to decline with age, and a major reason falls become more frequent and more dangerous after 60. Now, let's move to an exercise that targets a different but equally critical aspect of aging well. Number 4. Seated leg lifts with resistance. And if you assume that sitting down makes this exercise easy, you may be surprised. A 2024 study published in the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that seated leg lifts with added resistance improved walking speed by 28% and stair climbing ability by 45% in adults over 60. These numbers are not trivial. Walking speed is one of the strongest predictors we have of overall health, independence, and longevity in older adults. Clinically, walking speed is often referred to as the sixth vital sign because it is that predictive of health outcomes. The seated leg lift with resistance targets the hip flexors and quadriceps simultaneously, while also engaging the core for stability. These muscle groups work together every time you take a step, climb stairs, or rise from a chair. Traditional walking, however, does not strengthen these muscles enough to counter age-related decline. That's why technique matters. To perform this exercise correctly, sit in a sturdy chair with your back straight and your feet flat on the floor. If you are just starting, no equipment is necessary. As strength improves, ankle weights or resistance bands can be added safely. Slowly lift your right leg straight out in front of you, keeping the knee as straight as is comfortable. The goal is to raise the leg until it is parallel with the floor, but if you cannot reach that height initially, that is perfectly acceptable. Hold the position for 2 seconds, then slowly lower the leg without allowing the foot to touch the floor. That completes 1 repetition. The detail most people miss is posture. Your back should remain firmly pressed against the chair throughout the movement. This prevents compensation through momentum or lower back strain and ensures the correct muscles are doing the work. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions on one leg, then switch to the other. What makes this exercise particularly effective is unilateral training. By working one leg at a time, each side of the body is forced to function independently, which corrects muscle imbalances that naturally develop with age. To continue progressing, resistance should be increased gradually every 2 weeks. This can be done using ankle weights starting at 1 to 2 pounds or by looping a resistance band around the ankles. Have you ever noticed one leg feels noticeably weaker or less stable than the other? That asymmetry is exactly what unilateral training addresses. Progression is what drives adaptation. Research consistently shows that muscles and bones respond to progressive overload at any age, directly disproving the idea that strength cannot be rebuilt after 60. In fact, relative improvements are often greater in older adults because they are starting from a lower baseline. Now, let's move on to exercise number 3, which targets a critical system that most routines completely overlook. Number 3. Standing heel raises with a balance challenge. At first glance, standing heel raises may appear simple, but they address one of the most important components of healthy aging, calf strength and ankle stability. A landmark 2023 study from the National Institute on Aging found that calf strength was the single strongest predictor of whether adults over 60 would maintain independence over the following decade. Participants with stronger calf muscles were 71% less likely to require assisted living and experienced 64% fewer fall-related injuries. The reason is physiological. Your calf muscles act as a peripheral heart, helping pump blood back up from the legs toward the heart. Weak calves contribute to poor circulation, increased swelling, and a higher risk of blood clots. To perform standing heel raises with a balance challenge, begin by standing behind a chair, lightly resting your hands on the back for support if needed. Slowly rise up onto your toes as high as possible, pressing firmly through the balls of your feet. This is where we add the element that makes the exercise exponentially more effective. At the top of the movement, hold the position for 3 seconds while looking straight ahead, not down at your feet. This simple adjustment activates the vestibular system, the balance mechanism located in the inner ear that naturally deteriorates with age. Then lower yourself back down slowly, taking a full 3 seconds to descend. This controlled lowering phase, known as the eccentric phase, is where much of the strength-building stimulus occurs. Start with 10 repetitions and gradually progress to 25. Once you can complete 25 reps with good form while barely touching the chair, advance to performing the exercise on one leg at a time. The single leg variation not only doubles the resistance, but dramatically increases the balance demand. A study from Japan's Longevity Research Center found that adults over 60 who could perform 20 single-leg heel raises had biological age markers comparable to individuals 15 years younger. Their arterial flexibility was 43% better than age-matched peers who were unable to perform the movement. Have you ever tried balancing on one foot and noticed how challenging it suddenly becomes? That difficulty is exactly what makes this exercise so powerful. Researchers also uncovered something remarkable about the heel raise movement. It activates what is known as the muscle pump mechanism more effectively than almost any other exercise. Each time you rise and slowly lower, the calf muscles compress the blood vessels, actively pushing blood back toward the heart. This improves circulation throughout the entire body, increasing oxygen and nutrient delivery to vital organs. Participants in the study showed a 26% improvement in cognitive test scores after just 12 weeks. Researchers attributed this to improved blood flow to the brain. But what makes this exercise especially valuable after 60 is its role in fall recovery. When you trip, your body's first instinct is to push forcefully through the toes to regain balance. Weak calves limit that response. The balance component trains the brain and muscles to work together more efficiently, forming new neural pathways that enhance coordination. MRI studies have shown that this type of balance training increases gray matter in brain regions responsible for spatial awareness and motor control. To maximize benefits, vary the tempo across the week. On 2 days, perform heel raises slowly with a 3-second hold at the top. On one additional day, perform them at a slightly faster but still controlled pace, rising in 1 second and lowering in 1 second. This variation challenges the muscles in different ways and helps prevent performance plateaus. Now we move into the top 2 exercises. And number 2 often surprises people because of how efficient and safe it is. Number 2, modified squats to a chair. Before you worry about your knees, it's important to understand the research. A 2024 meta-analysis reviewing 42 studies with more than 15,000 participants found that modified chair squats were not only safe for individuals with knee concerns, but actually reduced knee pain by 58% when performed correctly. And the key word here is correctly. And I want to explain exactly why this exercise earned the number 2 position. It works more muscle groups at the same time than almost any other movement. We're talking about the glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and even the muscles of the back all working together in a coordinated way. After 60, that kind of full-body integration is not optional, it's essential. Here's why this matters so much clinically. The sit-to-stand movement is something you perform dozens of times every single day. And it is often one of the first abilities people lose as they age. Once a person can no longer rise from a chair without assistance, independence declines rapidly. Studies show that adults who are unable to complete a sit-to-stand test without using their arms have a mortality risk up to 3 times higher over the following 5 years. Have you ever noticed yourself needing to push off with your hands to stand up? That small change is an early warning sign we should never ignore. That's how fundamental this movement is to long-term health. To perform modified squats to a chair correctly, begin with a sturdy chair that places your knees at approximately 90 degrees when seated. Stand directly in front of it with your feet hip-width apart and your toes slightly turned outward. This foot position is critical because it follows natural hip anatomy and significantly reduces stress on the knees. Cross your arms over your chest or extend them forward for balance. Now slowly lower yourself toward the chair by pushing your hips back first, as if you were trying to close a car door with your hips. This hip hinge pattern is essential. It shifts the workload to the glute muscles instead of overloading the knees. Lower yourself in a controlled manner, taking about 3 seconds to descend. Lightly touch the chair with your hips, but do not fully sit or relax. That brief contact ensures continuous muscle tension, which is where strength gains occur. Immediately reverse the movement and stand back up, driving through your heels and squeezing your glutes as you rise. Take about 2 seconds to stand fully upright. That completes 1 repetition. Begin with 5 to 8 repetitions and gradually progress to 15 or 20. The Stanford Longevity Center conducted a compelling study in which adults over 60 performed chair squats 3 times per week for just 6 weeks. The results were remarkable. Participants increased lower body power by 47%. Power is different from strength. It includes speed, and it is often even more important for preventing falls and maintaining independence. Walking speed increased by 0.2 meters per second. Clinically, that difference is significant. It often marks the line between dependence and independence. Most striking, functional MRI scans showed increased activation in the motor cortex, the region of the brain responsible for movement control. In other words, this exercise was not just strengthening muscles, it was retraining the brain for better movement patterns. Research also identified a progression strategy that works best. For the first 2 weeks, use a standard height chair. Once you can perform 15 repetitions with good form, progress to a slightly lower surface, such as a coffee table or ottoman. This increases both range of motion and challenge. Eventually, some individuals progress to performing the movement without a chair at all, squatting to the depth where a chair would normally be. In some studies, participants later added light weights to further enhance benefits. And now we arrive at the moment many of you have been waiting for. The number 1 exercise. The one that is fundamentally changing how we think about fitness after 60. Number 1. Bird dog hold progressions. This exercise earned the top position for a reason. Once you understand the science behind it, you'll see why it has generated so much excitement in the medical community. This is the movement I mentioned earlier, the one shown in Harvard's research to increase longevity-related markers by 42%. The bird dog may look unusual at first, but clinically it stands apart. It is one of the very few exercises that simultaneously addresses nearly every major concern associated with aging: core stability, balance, cognitive function, spinal health, and even bone density. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Gerontology described it as the single most effective exercise for healthy aging. And, importantly, the data fully supports that conclusion. What makes this exercise so remarkable is how it works with the body's natural movement patterns. The bird dog position requires you to balance on the opposite arm and leg while maintaining a neutral spine. This diagonal, cross-body pattern closely mirrors how your body functions during walking, climbing stairs, or recovering from a loss of balance. But this is where it becomes especially interesting from a neurological perspective. Holding this position activates what is known as cross-lateral neural firing. Your brain must coordinate communication between the left and right hemispheres to maintain posture and balance. This bilateral activation has been shown to improve cognitive performance, enhance memory, and even reduce dementia risk by up to 31%, according to research from the Cleveland Clinic. Have you ever noticed how challenging it feels to keep your balance when both sides of your body must work together at the same time? That challenge is precisely what drives these brain benefits. Here is how to perform the exercise correctly. Begin on your hands and knees on a comfortable surface, such as a yoga mat or carpet. Your hands should be positioned directly under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Keep your spine neutral, not arched and not rounded. From this position, lift your right arm straight forward while simultaneously extending your left leg straight back. The goal is to form a straight line from your fingertips through your torso to your toes. Hold this position for 5 seconds at first, focusing on keeping your hips level and avoiding any rotation. Then lower slowly and repeat on the opposite side. What truly makes this exercise powerful is the structured progression. During weeks 1 and 2, hold the position for 5 seconds on each side, completing 5 repetitions. In weeks 3 and 4, increase the hold to 10 seconds. During weeks 5 and 6, add a subtle pulsing motion, gently lifting the extended arm and leg about 1 inch higher and returning to parallel while maintaining the hold. This small movement recruits additional muscle fibers and further challenges stability. By week 7 and 8, you can progress by closing your eyes during the hold. Removing visual input forces the proprioceptive system to work harder, significantly enhancing balance control. The research on bird-dog progressions is genuinely impressive. A study from the Mayo Clinic followed 500 adults over the age of 60 for 2 years. Those who performed bird-dog exercises 4 times per week experienced results that many clinicians initially found surprising. Core strength increased by 93%. Lower back pain decreased by 76%. And fall risk was reduced by 82%. But here's the finding that most shocked the researchers. Bone density in the spine and hips increased by 3.2%. To put this into context, most people over 60 lose approximately 1% of their bone density each year. This means that these participants essentially reversed 4 years of age-related bone density loss. The underlying mechanism for these improvements relates to something called mechanotransduction, which I mentioned earlier. When you hold the bird-dog position, you are creating specific mechanical forces on your bones, muscles, and connective tissues. These forces trigger cellular signals that tell your body to build stronger tissues. It's like your cells receive a message saying, "We need to be stronger to handle this challenge," and in response, they literally rebuild themselves to be more resilient. Have you ever thought about how the body responds to exercise in such an intricate, biological way? This is the real power behind functional movements like the bird dog. Research has shown that the bird dog position generates the optimal combination of compression and tension forces to trigger this rebuilding response. But the most remarkable discovery about bird dog progressions came from a German study focused on neuroplasticity. Researchers used advanced brain imaging to observe what happens in the brain during this exercise. They found that it activates more diverse brain regions simultaneously than any other single exercise they tested. The areas responsible for balance, coordination, spatial awareness, and executive function all light up together. After just 8 weeks of practice, participants showed measurable increases in brain volume in these key regions. This is not just about strengthening muscles, it's about growing new brain tissue at an age when most people are losing it. The bird dog also addresses a critical issue that affects almost everyone over 60, the loss of rotational stability. The ability to resist unwanted rotation is crucial for protecting your spine and maintaining balance during daily activities. Every time you reach for something while standing, carry groceries on one side, or turn to look behind you, your body needs rotational stability. The bird dog position trains this type of stability more effectively than any other exercise because you're constantly resisting the tendency to rotate while holding the extended position. Have you noticed how much easier it is to perform these actions once your rotational stability improves? To maximize the benefits of the bird dog, focus on your breathing during the hold. Take slow, deep breaths through your nose, allowing your ribcage to expand. This breathing technique activates your deep core stabilizers and improves oxygen delivery to all the working muscles. Many people make the mistake of holding their breath during challenging exercises, but this can actually reduce effectiveness and increase blood pressure. Controlled breathing during bird dog holds has been shown to improve respiratory function by approximately 22% in older adults. And here is an advanced technique that can significantly increase the effectiveness of this exercise. As you hold the position, consciously push your extended hand forward and your extended foot backward, as if you were trying to make your body longer. This creates what exercise scientists refer to as irradiation, a phenomenon where tension spreads throughout the entire body, activating additional muscle fibers and strengthening neural connections. Studies show that using this intentional tension technique can increase strength gains by up to 40% compared to passively holding the position. This detail alone explains why the bird dog progression so clearly demonstrates why these 5 exercises outperform traditional walking after 60. Walking is certainly beneficial and far better than being sedentary, but it does not provide the variety of challenges the body needs to maintain and rebuild capacity with age. If walking alone were enough, why would we see such dramatic differences when these targeted movements are added? These 5 exercises create very specific adaptations that directly counteract the most common age-related declines. They build strength across multiple planes of motion, challenge balance and coordination, improve cognitive function, increase bone density, and reinforce the mind-body connection that allows you to move with confidence in daily life. The total time investment for all 5 exercises is about 20 to 25 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week. Compare that with the hour-long walks often recommended, and you are looking at less than half the time commitment for substantially better results. The Copenhagen study I mentioned earlier found that participants performing these targeted exercises spent an average of 75 minutes per week exercising, compared to 180 minutes in the walking group. Despite exercising less, every single health marker measured was superior in the targeted exercise group. And this brings us to a crucial point. Success with these exercises is not about perfection. It is about progression. Start where you are. Even if that means using modified versions or fewer repetitions, the body adapts quickly. Many people are genuinely surprised by how much improvement they experience in just a few weeks. The research is consistent on this point. It is never too late to begin. Studies have included participants well into their 90s who still showed meaningful gains. Your body retains its ability to adapt, rebuild, and grow stronger throughout your entire life. It simply needs the right stimulus. And these 5 exercises provide exactly that. Now, I would like to hear from you. What is one daily activity that has become more difficult for you after 60 and that you would most like to improve? And be honest, about how many minutes per week are you currently exercising, and what has been your biggest obstacle to staying consistent? Share your experience in the comments below. We read them all. Thank you for watching.